Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of our Compliance Connection podcast with Healthcare Heritage. Today we're doing actually a dual recording here. We're also going to be recording this for one of our Right Way Wednesdays. It's a vlog series that we do on our Documentation Success Facebook page. So if you're listening to us on the podcast, go check us out over there. And if you're watching us on the page, go check out our podcast. It's a great place to get information. We have a lot of videos, podcasts that we've done so far. I believe we're somewhere in the 80s now, and we have 100 or so or more actual Right Way Wednesdays. So you can go check those out too. I have today with me Bernice Galvez Soto. She is one of our compliance team members. Hi, Bernice.
Hi, everyone. How's everyone doing?
Thank you, guys. Sarah, thank you for joining us today. I wanted to pick your brain a little bit today about State Practice Acts. So Bernice, one of the things that she does for us, and one of the many things that she does for us, is help really kind of make sure that the team keeps track of State Practice Act guidelines. We keep this fabulous spreadsheet, especially now as things are changing a little bit as a result of the pandemic. We've got lots of things kind of happening, not only at the national level, but at the state level. So, I wanted to talk to you, Bernice, today, because I know clinicians sometimes struggle with what they need to know, when they need to know it, how to get the information, and specifically with State Practice Acts. I know as I go through and look at the ones that I'm responsible for really researching on a regular basis, sometimes it can be a little bit challenging, right? And I'm used to some of these websites. So, as an individual clinician, what would be your responsibility to keep track of when it comes to those kinds of things?
I think there's two different components here. I think that we could always feel secure that when we're working with a company that is looking at the well-being for us. One of the advantages that we know that they're always going to be keeping up with updates that are taking place at a state, local, and national level. However, as clinicians, we also have the same responsibility. Unfortunately, right now is the best example to say that things are changing day by day. Yesterday, we could have gone to our local association and they probably could have told us, oh, you're fine to just move forward with your renewal process and go today, and they might actually have now a new expectation for you. So one of the biggest things is keeping up with the changes. Taking that initiative to go back and actually start looking at what is changing in my practice, what new guidelines need to be applicable, what I need to change. So I think that's the first step, knowing that we cannot just rely on the company we work for, on our colleagues, or not even our associations or local or, like I said, national, federal. We just have to keep up with them and asking those questions.
Okay, so thinking about that, where do they go? Where do you go to get information that you need to know for your practice?
Obviously, my first thing is going to be, one of the things is we got to start looking at who do we serve and how we serve them. So CMS, for example. CMS is a great place to go and refer back to because they're going to tell us, their new expectations for any individual that we're serving, especially that are being covered for them. Other things that we got to look is our local LCD. That's another area when it comes down to our documentation. To our documentation, to our actual, payer changes, requirements, and so on. The other thing is our national associations. Here I'm in the state of Illinois, so I could easily go to the APTA and figure out as a physical therapist assistant what is taking place over there. But then locally, I have the IPTA where I could also refer to locally and ask for those questions. And then in addition, we have to throw this joke out over there, but what about Google? I think everything that we could start Googling, we could start putting in there. It will take us to different websites. The key is we cannot just rely on sources that are not strong. So there's going to be a difference from looking at a really strong association as well established to somebody who just wrote an article of what needs to happen. So that's the only thing that we got to be careful about Google. But our national associations, our local associations, even, we tend to forget that once we graduate, we leave our schools and that we don't need to keep up with a relationship, but schools have to keep up with all the changes as well. So sometimes making a call to an old instructor, to the director of the program, can also loop you at the new changes that are taking place.
Yeah, I know when I look for state licensing boards, I Google speech language pathology, the state, and then licensing board, and I go right to it. I've noticed too that on them, you can sometimes follow them on Twitter or even Facebook. I don't know if yours might even have a listserv that you could sign up for. So yeah, those are some great tips for me.
That's actually
okay. So when
sorry,
yeah,
that is a great point. Yes, use social media for your advantage, and
yeah.
in there you're going to find a lot of resources as well.
Yeah. So once they're on those pages, let's just talk about your State Practice Act. So the licensing board page in the State Practice Act, what kind of things would you look for? Where would you tell them to go?
Are you saying where would I tell them to go once they are in those pages, or what specific areas?
Yeah.
One of the things is new releases, new changes. One of the things that I have noticed as we're starting to keep up with the changes that are taking place is that a lot of these websites, you will find that they're now dating everything. So this, which is really, really nice. You will see the most recent information on the top going down. And obviously some items are going to apply to you, some items are not going to apply. Other things is rules and regulations. Is the governor made a new change? You will see that as they're using media a lot. So sometimes it's even a video. You no longer have to take that approach of reading an entire article and see what applies to you. Now is you could just hit on that video and really hear and see the new changes that are taking place. Other things, state code of conduct. Again, those are changing. Let's just throw this in there. Right now with everything that's going on, a lot of changes in infection control are taking place. And it's affecting our school practice. We were carrying the hand sanitizer. Some changes, some states have changed where they're like, that's no longer part of infection control now. You got to do that proper hand washing. So again, is your state made that change as well? And even your state board of regulations, when you're renewing your license, even they are sharing some of their information. Perhaps some of us have not been aware that, we're used to knowing that we have to have an X amount of hours to renew our license, but do you need that this time around? We have states that are not requiring that, and maybe some individuals are stressing out saying, I still have 5 hours, 7 hours, and, it has to be on site. Maybe you don't. So that's another area where you could just go in there and just look. Sometimes most websites, and I would honestly say whether it is CMS, to your local association, to your national association, they have a search box. Just put any type of word, and it's like doing Google, but just in particular for your own practice.
Yeah, and on the flip side of that continuing ed, maybe you need something that you didn't know you needed. Like I know a lot of states and even national associations like ASHA are requiring now some sort of ethics course that they may not have before, or maybe an additional infection control. Like there could be some sort of misconduct sort of course. So there are all kinds of state specific requirements that you need to make sure that you're following and that you know about. Okay, so thinking about,
I'm glad you're mentioning that, because here is one thing also to be kind of a warning or a disclaimer there is make sure you are following the specific changes requirements. And what I mean by this is there are states that are either requiring you not to make any additional changes, but there has been states where they have said, we are only accepting the following types of CEUs and from the following resources. Unfortunately, like there is good, like there's bad, and we have actually encountered many companies that are providing continuing education, but has not been approved. So let's not fall on those traps.
Yeah, that's a very good tip. It's something to keep in mind for sure. All right, so thinking about all that stuff that we just talked about, how often then would you recommend an individual clinician go and take a look at their State Practice Act?
I would love to say daily, but I know this is not going to happen. I don't even know it daily.
Oh gosh, no.
I would honestly say it's up for everybody's discretion. Some of you guys might say monthly, quarterly, and so on, but at least once a year, take that moment. in a year, many things happen. Come on, a year ago, we did not see what we're actually seeing right now. And that has changed a whole bunch of things in our profession. So at least once a year, make that attempt to saying, you know what, I'm going to take a few minutes or a few hours of my time, just do a quick review. Like I said, all of these places that you go and find a lot of this information, they already have it break it down. If it's not by category, it's by dates. So you're really not going to be looking and expending a whole bunch of time trying to find what is new. In addition to that is, you know, a lot of these websites also allow you to register to their distribution list where they will send you alerts, they will send you the most important changes. So that's something to keep up in mind, that you might want to register. After a while, you probably are going to get a lot of messages, but again, it's just about reading the titles and say, like, is this applicable to me? Is this going to affect me? Do I need to know? Because as clinicians, we all have a different role. Some of us, we're in the field treating, some of us are also leaders and we're treating at the same time. So as leaders, as associates, we have a different level of responsibility. Who are we educating? Our patient or our associates, our company, or others? So, you know, again, it will make a huge impact if you take that time at least once a year. Again, you know, in favor of as often as you can, the better. The other thing that I do want to point out, and I guess another thing to remind everybody is, if you do register for some alerts, and by all means, you know, your email changed, your phone number, because now you could even get texts, make sure you change that information. Otherwise, you're going to start losing that as information, and you're going to be kind of one of those individuals that eventually you're going to be like, wait, who said that? Where they came from? And now you're Googling, now you're looking at Facebook, now reaching out and so on. And one thing I would have to admit is, you find those states where you could reach out directly to certain customer services. And if you're lucky, you get a response right away. But if you're not lucky, you're probably not going to hear for months. So we don't want you to fall in that trap. So it's better to make sure that you also take that proactive approach of making sure that they have the correct information if you opt for any type of text, email alert, or anything like that.
Right. And you actually, before we started recording, you were talking about how, and this made me think, when my license is due, I always have an alert in my calendar, because sometimes, like you said, there was a state recently where we found out that because of everything that was going on, the offices were shut down. They didn't send out the notices via the mail like they normally did. And so we might have had some clinicians sort of scrambling because they weren't really paying attention to when that license was due. And so making sure that you're on top of that in particular is important.
So many states, Nicole, and thank you for reminding me about that. Many states, what they have actually put as a big warning disclaimer are like, we're not taking in-person applications. Everything is going to be done remotely. Some individuals are working from home, even from these actual companies or associations or, you know, settings, and they don't have the means to be mailing documents. So in the past, maybe some of us, we were used to getting a little postcard saying a reminder, you're going to renew your license. Now they're not doing that. Now, if you all remember, normally, typically almost every state, when you renew your license, it will ask you for your address, it will ask you for your email. So what they're doing is they're sending notifications to those emails. So again, as part of this annual review that you'll make a mission for yourself, maybe another mission for yourself is check your spam inbox. Do you have some emails in there that are related and important to this that you need to put in your inbox? Do they have the most accurate information? Because the least thing that we want is that, you know, tomorrow is your day to renew your license, and then you come back with the reason like, oh, it's tomorrow, or I didn't get notification. Honestly, some of these notifications, because of the current status, are being sent electronically. So great point. And
and I actually put my alert in my calendar like 2 or 3 months ahead, actually, so that I make sure that I'm not getting caught off guard with any CE requirements or anything like that. And I've got plenty of time to get that settled if I haven't already done it. So yeah, I always sort of do that for myself. Well, thank you so much, Bernice. Hopefully you guys learned something new today or found this helpful. Let us know what other topics you want to hear about. We are always open to new ideas. Thank you, Bernice, for joining us. I really appreciate it.
Thank you much.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day and happy documenting. Bye-bye.
Bye.